So far, we've looked at how to get table data from a single table using the select command. Now we want to see how we can use what's called the join feature in database in SQL to get data from multiple tables. So first, before we worry about that, let's just take a look at what we really want to do. So let's say we want to get a list of student names and classes. So we want to know from every we have in our database we've got a bunch of students and we have a bunch of classes that they're enrolled in, and we want to get the names of the students and the classes that they're enrolled in, like maybe C1, C2, just the class numbers. So to do this, we need to go across our database and look at more than one table, because if you look at our database structure here again, what we have is we've got students over here and enrolls in over here, and we want to figure out, we know that they are linked together by social security number, but the names are in this table over here, right? So the name of John Childs or Mary Arias or whatever is in this table over here, and the classes C1, C2, C3 are in this table. So we need to go across these two tables and somehow get the data to dig it out. We can see that the two tables are linked by social security number, right? So this and this are, this 111222333 is John's social security number, and that's the linkage between the students and the enrolls in tables. So what we want to do is we want to say, hey, I want to get, so in the select statement, the first thing you want to tell it is what data do you want to see. You know, remember what we're getting from a select command is another table. So what we want to tell it is what is the structure of that table, and that structure of the table is our select something, right? So the structure of our table that we want is the F name, the L name, first name, last name, and the class. So that becomes the start of our query. So we can go here and say select F name, comma, L name, comma, class, right? That's what we want to select, right? Where do you want to select this from? So our select structure says select the columns that we want and from the tables that we're getting the data from. So the tables that we want to get our data from in this case is the student table and the enrolls in table. So we can just list those from student, comma, enrolls in. Okay, and let's run this and see what we get. I mean, this is not going to be our answer, but let's see what we get. So what we get is error code, unknown column, F name in field, and all that kind of stuff, right? So oh well, wait a sec, sorry, forgot the word from. So here now what I get is a sort of composite which has taken all our data and said F name, L name, C1. So we get John Child C1, John Child C2, John Child C1, John Child. So it's sort of like a mess, because it's taken all the possible combinations of every row in our student table with every row in our enrolls table. So we get John Childs for every possible combination here. C1, C2, C3, C1, C2, C3, everything, right? So we don't really want that. What we want is, we want a restricted thing. We want to say, we want this to be contained to the condition where the social security number in this table here, so we want it to be constrained so that we only want to choose rows where this social security number matches this social security number. Make sense? So what we want to say is, we want to say, hey, look, take this row here and look for a corresponding row over here and include only that. Don't include every row that shows up in that table there. So that's our condition, and we want to add that condition in, and that becomes what's called the join condition, really. And we say here where the student.ssn, which is the social security number of the student in the student table, equals enrolls in .ssn. So now we are restricting our combining of these two tables to matching rows, right, which match on social security number. And then we run this, and now we get our listing of student names and their classes. So that's the way we go about doing this. We can complicate this a little bit, as much as we want actually. And so for example, if you want to see the list of classes that John Childs is enrolled in, so far in our first query, we're just restricting it to social security number matching, and that's it. So we get all the combinations possible. And notice that I have an additional thing here called A and B. So what I'm saying is that choose these columns from the table student, but give it an alias A. And the idea here is that you just want to make typing easier. You don't want to keep saying student.ssn. You might have multiple cases of student and multiple fields we're drawing from it. So rather than having to keep typing the name of the table, I'm going to use the alias A or the alias B, and that's what I'm doing over here. I can make this even more specific by saying something like this. I could say select a.fname, a.lname, b.class from student A enrolls in B. Just by saying A and B, it becomes an alias, and then I'll replace student by a.ssn equals b.ssn, and execute this. The nice thing about this is that anyone reading the query can know clearly where fname and lname are coming from. If I don't have to say it. The reason I don't have to say it is because fname and lname are unique in my table, right? There's no fname and lname that is duplicated anywhere here, but SSN is not unique. So if I include SSN, I have to specify exactly where I'm getting it from. So if I did, for example, here SSN and try to run this, I get an error because it tells me SSN column, SSN field, SSN in field list is ambiguous. So where there's no ambiguity, you don't have to specify it. But where there is ambiguity, you need to specify it. It doesn't know which to use SSN in table A or table B, right? That's the idea there. So that's, just keep that in mind. But as a general rule, if you disambiguate, and you can think of the if you disambiguate every field, then you're safer. You're not going to run into trouble. And B, anyone reading your query can see clearly where the data is coming from, which is always a good practice in any programming environment, to make sure that everyone knows what the heck's going on, right? So that's the basic structure. We can, like I said, you can add more stuff to this. So here I want to get information from the two tables, but I only want to see which courses is the student called John Childs doing well in, right? So by well, I'm defining you should get 95 or higher in the class. So I can say where this and is a combining clause over there. Fname equals John. Note that once we are in the data itself, we have to be case compliant, right? Because it's a literal. And lname equals Childs, and score greater than equal to 95. And I can, if I want, let me just execute this. There's only in C2 is John Childs getting more than that. If I want, I don't have to, like I said, but I can always add the A dot, and B dot. Remember, I don't have to because they are not duplicated. The same name is not used in multiple tables, so it's not going to be a problem. SQL can figure that stuff out, right? So here what I've done is I'm saying, okay, take these two tables, combine them at the social security number equal social security numbers, and then also add this condition that from the, in a sense, what I'm saying is from the resulting table, make sure that the only rows that I get are the ones that contain first name John, last name Childs, and a score greater than or equal to 95.